Francis, I'd also like to thank the HRB-TMRN for inviting me here. So in terms of communication, my particular interest lies in how retention strategies are currently communicated in trials, because currently there's really just not a lot of information in the literature on this topic. So similar to the title on the screen, the overall aim of my PhD is to investigate the communication of retention strategies in trials. So today I'm just going to give just a really quick kind of whistle-stop tour of my PhD and the different types of research questions that we're hoping to answer. So the first piece of work that has been published is kind of what I call the costing project. So we took the most routinely used retention strategies in the UK and we costed them and compared these costs to the evidence to support their use. And we found that retention strategies can be extremely expensive, but the evidence to support their use is either entirely lacking or is very weak. So we're potentially investing large amounts of money into strategies that may or may not be effective at retaining participants. So when we're doing this piece of work, we noticed that retention strategies were often quite poorly specified and not very well communicated. So then this kind of ties in nicely with the rest of the pieces of work. So we really wanted to look at how retention strategies are communicated at various stages of the trial. So during the design stage, we wanted to look at how do trial teams plan for retention during this stage? When they're developing the protocol, are they considering actively promoting participant retention and then communicating this plan? So to answer this question, we're currently conducting a scoping review of protocols for randomized controlled trials. And out of our 824 protocols, only 38% have communicated a plan to actively promote participant retention in the protocol. So clearly at this kind of initial design stage of the trial, retention strategies are either just not considered or they're just not very well communicated. So then moving on to the informed consent stage, again, we wanted to look at if and how do trial teams communicate retention strategies in patient information leaflets. So for example, if a trial team is planning on sending out prompts for upcoming trial visits, are participants being made aware of this in the patient information leaflet? So to answer this question then, we are going to analyse the content of pills used in Ireland and the UK. And the findings from the first couple of pieces of work are really going to help inform the latter two pieces, which are both interviews. So firstly, we want to interview trial teams because we want to get a more in-depth understanding of this communication process. Why are retention strategies communicated? Why they're not communicated? What factors influence these decisions? We also want to ask trial teams, do they involve members of PPI groups when they are planning and designing retention strategies? Do they communicate with PPI groups in how to tell participants about retention strategies? And then finally, we want to interview participants themselves. We want to get their views and opinions on the use of retention strategies. How do they feel about being informed about them? So for example, if participants are made aware in a patient information leaflet that they will receive prompts for upcoming visits, does this information influence their decision to participate in the trial? So these are the types of questions that we want answers to, because we hope that they will the answers to them will help contribute to the evidence base for answering the questions set out by priority 2 in terms of retention in clinical trials. And then also by investigating the current practice of how strategies are currently communicated, we hopefully will be able to come up with suggestions and recommendations on how to improve this communication process to help reduce attrition and help improve aspects of trial conduct. So yeah, that's everything. Thank you very much for listening. And yeah, I'm going to stop sharing my screen.